He's called Mr. Ed B. Miller. Actually, I have this policy also, and it has been very good. And it is, as Pastor said, it is very important that we introduce it to you, because as we live in this country, there are things that you may not know until somebody introduced you. So this is an opportunity for us to learn. So as we've come here, let us open our hearts and listen and ask questions so that we will have something also for our lives and for our families. Without wasting my time, shall we put our hands together and welcome Mr. Ed?
Thank you. I'm going to talk a little bit about who I am, about my family, and then what I do here. I am a owner in this company, Keystone Financial Group. We are a full-service financial advisory wealth management firm located in Gahanna. And I have two partners. In addition to myself, we have 5 staff, and we've been doing this for a little over a decade. So I wanted to thank Pastor Stephen and Frederick for inviting me today. As I said, just make sure everyone grabs a folder. At the end of this, in the folder, there is an evaluation where I want you to evaluate the presentation. That kind of helps us in terms of feedback. Albeit we are a full-service financial advisory wealth management firm, I was asked to speak about a particular concept or strategy that we use with a lot of our clients. That strategy is called Bank on Yourself. So let's see if it worked before. We'll see if it... Let's make sure. We'll reboot this. Shows on. We love technology when it works. We don't like it so much when it doesn't. Until that works, I can kind of give you, I have the presentation here, so I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on myself. As I said, I am a partner in the company. I have spent my entire career here in the Columbus, Ohio area, which is about 31 years. And I was a commercial lender for about 17 years. I then went to work for one of my business clients as their CFO. And then I've spent about the last 11 years here in the financial planning industry. I am a certified financial fiduciary and a certified long-term care specialist. The CFF means, if you guys have heard the term fiduciary before, effectively what that means is that I have to legally, albeit I would do it anyway, represent the best interests of my clients. So that's a lot of times if you're talking to an individual or a financial person, what a fiduciary means is that we have to represent what's in the best interest of the individual client that we are working with. So I actually attended a small liberal arts school here in Ohio called Kenyon College, which is up north, we're in Mount Vernon area, and I played football there and met my lovely wife. We'll be 30 years here this fall that we've been married. And she's from Boston, Massachusetts, so she actually went to school here and decided to stay, much to her dismay. She loves the East Coast, but I made her move here. I also got my master's, my MBA from Ohio State University, so I did that in their evening executive program early on in my career. And then just a little bit as far as what I like to do, one of my big hobbies is cycling. So not motorcycling, but bicycling. So I belong to a couple groups. I probably cycle about 5,000 miles a year. So we get out on the roads and do a lot of good stuff and good exercise. Now the next slide is actually pictures of my family, so let's see if, kind of hard to,
Do the slides. Instead of you talking, then I can help you to do the slides manually.
okay, back from, well, he's got, it's a fob that he's got back in the computer there. So maybe we can just have him. Can you just change them as I, or is it working now? Was it a battery?
So
Of all things, it was a battery, not technology. So that's the slide I just covered here. Now, once again. Kevin, can you change him from back there? Maybe I just need to bring Kevin up with me. And, yeah, that's fine. Do you want to just control it here when I? Okay. So go ahead and go advance. Okay, right there. So that is my family. That is my lovely wife there in the upper right. We've been, as I said, married almost 30 years. My two children there on the left-hand side. My daughter is a doctor. She just graduated from med school last year, and she's in her first year of residency in Baltimore, Maryland, so very proud of her. And we just found out my son, my baby, is moving to Charlotte, North Carolina, so we will have no children left here in Columbus. But so be it. And then I am a dog family. We actually have 3 dogs, which 2 of them there, but they provide a lot of entertainment for us. This is my work family. So just like my home family, these are the people I've been with for about 11 years. I'm on the far left there, and my 2 partners, and then we have 2 full-time staff, and then we have 1 part-time staff. So really good people, and really a pleasure to work with them. Okay. What we do, go ahead and press it again. This is our company motto. We provide personalized financial services that create confidence and certainty during all phases of your life. What does that mean? We teach people strategies for protecting and maintaining control of their money while achieving steady and predictable growth. So when we look at it, there are we are full service, but we do spend a lot of attention to make sure we identify investments and strategies that can reduce or eliminate your exposure to market risk and volatility. You've probably have heard from a diversification standpoint of what's called asset class diversification, which is what most people are familiar with. What that means, if you have a 401k or an IRA or anything else, you may be invested in 4 or 5 different mutual funds. Typically, your company would have options for you to select. What do all those things have in common? It's a question. Market risk, right? They're all subject to different degrees, some level of market risk. So we feel it's very important to have appropriate risk diversification within your strategies, which means some market-based assets, some non-market-based assets. And this is just a little fact. When we meet with clients and just looking at the broader industry, capital preservation, a recent financial study showed 71% of pre-retirees reported that protecting their savings was their top goal. Not necessarily growing it, but preservation of what they've spent their entire life building up. So what I was asked to talk about today, and Pastor Stephen and Frederick have incorporated this, and I've worked with them for several years now. This specific strategy that I'm going to talk about today is called Bank on Yourself. It's a unique dividend-paying life insurance strategy. I like to say it is a tax-advantaged long-term wealth accumulation vehicle. And I always ask the question, so I'd like to get a response from this one. What's the number one reason people buy life insurance? Number one reason. Protection for who? For your family, right? Okay, so if you're buying that policy, sir, who's benefiting from it?
Yeah, mostly you're thinking about those that you're going to leave behind.
Yeah, so you're buying it for those that you leave behind. So if it's ever utilized, you're not here to enjoy it, right? It's here for income replacement. It's here to maybe pay some debts off, to leave your spouse and family in a better position. Now, this strategy we look at is, I think the name life insurance is named incorrectly. And what I mean by that, we just talked about it. It really should be called death insurance, but no one would buy it, right? So what a true life insurance policy to me means, I can use it during my lifetime, right? So wouldn't it be great if I can actually access that cash value whenever I needed it for all the things that life throws at us? I always like to say life happens, right? Every day, car breaks down. We need a new roof. Kids need braces. Something is always coming up. And we may have a 401k, we may have those IRAs. Are those easy to get a hold of? Is it easy to take money out of those type of accounts? No, it's not. What happens if you take money out of them? Kind of bad things, right? You get penalties. Prior to age 59 and a half, it's a 10% early withdrawal penalty. And if you do have a plan that allows you to borrow, so if anyone's done that, how do you have to repay that note? You pay interest on it, but it also comes out of your pay. They set up a predetermined repayment amount. Every paycheck, they're taking it out. So once again, it's just not very flexible. When we look at these plans, we look at utilizing the chassis of life insurance as a tax advantage financial planning wealth accumulation vehicle. So just like any other investment, we don't focus on this as, in life insurance, what people focus on is, well, how much death benefit do I need? What we focus on is, just like any other investment, we work with our clients, go through to say, what do you have available? And that's different for each and every one of you. That's what we call discretionary income. So that's income that's left over, hopefully, after you pay your bills each month, which sometimes isn't a whole lot or could be different on a month-to-month basis. But when you save or invest money, you're putting aside a certain amount per, whether it's per pay, per month, or whatever that may be. Are we advancing here? Go ahead and click it a couple times here and we'll just kind of cover. So some of the other, what I call more on the fixed income or non-market based strategies here, and you may be familiar with these or not. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail today. Fixed index annuities, we use these with a lot of our clients to help provide guaranteed income for retirement, protects against market risk and volatility. There's also fixed annuities, which are like a bank certificate of deposit. If you've ever got a CD where you invest X amount of money for a certain period of time. And then the other facet, which is coming up more and more within my conversations with my clients, is, well, what are we going to do about long-term care? You know, this is the big animal in the room is long-term care, and how do we pay for it? We had, my mother-in-law lived in an assisted living, and then when COVID hit, we hadn't seen her in 4 or 5 months, so we made a decision as a family to bring her home, and so she's living with my wife and I. But I can tell you, she was paying $7,000 a month. $7,000 a month for her assisted living. That's a lot of money. Not too many people have that to pay out of pocket, right? So the need for long-term care, and at least to have the conversation about it, is very important. Because what happens in most cases, the care falls on you, falls on us, falls on the family. You know, we bring our parents in, loved ones in, and sometimes, at some point, they're going to need more care than often we can provide to them. Okay, let's go next slide. All right, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Oop, there we go. Have any of you ever seen this? It's called the financial pyramid. Not a pyramid scheme, you know, it's nothing negative, but I have this up here because it's important. We as a society have basically been, through mass media, social media, we have been told, how do we become wealthy and rich? What do we do? What are we supposed to do? Invest. Invest in what? Yeah, real estate's actually a good investment. But we're really told and we're encouraged to invest in the stock market, right? That's where your 401ks are, your IRAs, anything else. Who takes the risk when you invest everything you have in the stock market? You. Not the corporations, not the brokers, not the investment people. Whether it does good or bad, they still make money, right? So when you look at this, and this is true of, who here has ever built a home? Or ever seen a home built? One of the two. What's the first thing you start with a home? Foundation. Okay, I'll use the church as an example. Church is built on a strong foundation, a family. What happens if you don't have a strong foundation over a period of time? Crumbles, right? House will crumble. Any foundation, if you don't have a foundation, you know, you're not going to be living in that very long. So we take the same approach to wealth accumulation. You need to start with your foundation before you build up. Yet, we as a society have been told, let's jump right up to the top of that pyramid. Forget about the foundation. We skip the foundation. I would say 90% of the people I meet with, everything they have as far as investments are in a 401k, an IRA, a Roth, a brokerage account, some type of account like that, and maybe they have a little money in savings. So once again, it's risk diversification. We want to make sure you have appropriate risk diversification as opposed to just asset diversification. Okay, all right, now we get to the good stuff. We asked this already, so we'll skip this. The number one reason why people buy life insurance, we talked about, was for the death benefit. Go ahead and keep clicking. It will populate here. So I'm going to get into this. This is what we consider a foundational safe money strategy, and it's safe money because it has nothing to do with the stock market. These large life insurance companies have been in business for not years or decades, but for centuries. Some of the first financial institutions in the world were life insurance companies. A lot of people don't realize that. The companies we work with have been in business for anywhere from 120 to 200 years. Some of the strongest, most dependable, consistently performing financial institutions in the world. are these life insurance companies. So this is utilizing high cash value life insurance as an asset class, just like investments or real estate, sir, as you mentioned. That's a great investment class. So what do you get within this bank on yourself strategy? Once again, when we sit down with the client, we're trying to determine what is a viable contribution amount for you. We want to get the majority of that right into your cash value that you can access, because if you look at the benefits here, these companies have paid dividends, which is a return. Think of it like interest to you for 100 plus years in a row. Through the Great Depression, through every major military operation, war, skirmish, financial recession, these companies have consistently paid dividends. The other big advantage, if you had taxable money or tax-free money, which is better? Which would you rather have? Tax-free, right? Okay. All the growth within these plans, according to IRS and tax code, all growth is tax-free. Borrowing feature, I was actually talking to Kevin about this before, and this is one of the reasons why Frederick looked at this. You have the ability to borrow against your cash value at any time for any reason, and then, like the name suggests, bank on yourself, you are both the bank and the borrower. So let's say you had $10,000 in your policy, and you borrowed $8,000. How much do you have left? $2,000. So you would assume that you have $2,000 left to grow, right? That continues to grow. Well, here's how this works. All the life insurance companies that we use have what's called a non-direct recognition. So you are borrowing against the value, not from the value. So your policy continues to earn the full dividend scale on $10,000 as if you never borrowed, because we're not taking the money out of your individual policy. The loan proceeds are coming out of the general operating account of the life insurance company. All the life insurance companies we use are mutual companies. Who's familiar with what a mutual company is? Mutual versus stock. Has anyone ever heard that term? No? All right, very simple. Mutual company is like a co-op. So if you do business, if you were to open a policy with a mutual company, you're an owner. Not only are you a client, you're an owner. So a mutual company is operated for the benefit of you, of its clients, because you're also the owners. So when the mutual company does well, they distribute their profits to you in the form of dividends. The other thing that this asset class enjoys is it's a protected asset. What does that mean? If you ever got sued, if there was ever a judgment against you, if you ever filed personal bankruptcy, the cash value within these plans is protected from all creditors, even the IRS, in the event of a personal bankruptcy. One of the only assets that enjoys that protection. Okay, let's go next slide. Go ahead and keep. Oops. Some of the other benefits. No age restrictions or limitations. No RMDs. I'll explain what that means. Your IRAs, 401ks, Roth IRAs, all have limitations on what you can contribute. There are no limitations. Earnings. If you earn over a certain dollar amount, you cannot contribute into a Roth. So this is another vehicle. It doesn't matter what you earn. There is no limitations on what you can put in. RMDs, are anyone familiar with that term? What an RMD means, required minimum distribution? When you hit age, it used to be 70 and a half, but now it's 72. When you hit 72, the government says you have to start taking distributions out of your 401k, out of your IRA, because they want their taxes, right? Because all those accounts are pre-tax. So all you're doing is deferring those taxes. You don't have to worry about with this. This account is completely flexible. There are no required minimum distributions or anything else. Guaranteed asset growth. One of the only financial vehicles, there is a minimum contractual guarantee of growth. And obviously, well, who's guaranteeing that? Well, these life insurance companies that have been in business for 125, 200 years, that have shown a track record of the same period of each and every year distributing dividends. Very strong, very consistent companies. So what you get is very consistent growth at a very low risk. And this also provides what I call that risk diversification. This is not a get rich quick. This is not you're not going to get double-digit rate of returns. What you're going to get is a very consistent, dependable growth, tax advantage, liquidity, accessibility. And then what a lot of my clients do is they use this throughout their lifetimes. And then why do we all work? For some period of time, what do we want to do? We want to stop working. We want to retire. So what does everyone need in retirement? Have to have, or you can't retire. Income. So you can actually utilize this as a tax-free supplemental source of income to help fund your retirement. So I like to call it the Swiss Army knife of financial planning vehicles, because you can use it for so many different things, and you don't have to determine what you're going to use it for until that time comes up. So from that standpoint, the guarantees are there only if dividends are not paid. So even if dividends aren't paid, there's a minimum contractual guarantee. Yet I've told you these guarantees have been paid, the dividends, for 120, 150 consecutive years. And this is all, I'm telling you this stuff, it's all verified. I'll be able to, as we progress, if you're interested in hearing more about it, this is public record. These companies are listed, and financial information is available. They're all A or higher rated companies, so very strong. Okay, let's go to the next slide. All right. Yep, right there. So I kind of wanted, we spoke conceptually. Everyone always says, okay, show me the numbers. What does this look like? And so what I did here, this is just a sample plan, a sample illustration. So what I assume here is that we have a male age 35. He's going to contribute $500 a month, and his projected retirement is 65 years old. And his objective is to create a vehicle, a capital reserve that he can access if needed in emergency situations or as larger expenses come up. But then even more so, he wanted a supplemental income stream in his retirement, a tax-free supplemental income stream that he could depend upon. So what I'm going to show you here is we initiated income through this plan starting at age 66, and we took it through the low 90s. We went a little bit beyond life expectancy. Life expectancy models right now are anywhere from 86 to 88. Once again, depending upon whether you're male or female. My wife always, the ladies, guys, I hate to say it, are going to outlive us. That's kind of the averages. So let's go ahead and move forward here. I don't know if there's a way we can enlarge that a little bit. I don't have my glasses. Can you guys see the numbers at all? All right. I can't. No? All right. Well, we can speak conceptually. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward to that here. So within this plan, if you're putting in $500 a month, once again, just a sample plan, what you're looking at is first year, that's going to buy about $244,000 of death benefit, but more importantly, your cash value is going to be about $4,400. These plans become more efficient each and every year, and what you really have to focus on is the outcome, because in most times when we look at, oh, there we go, go all the way over to the right. Yep, right there is great. Okay, so once again, we've kind of been taught or conditioned when we look at investments, we look at, well, what does it look like at the end of each year? Did it grow? Did it lose money? And that's how we evaluate. We evaluate on an annualized basis. With this, you got to focus on the outcome. Where are we going to be 15, 20, 30 years from now? Because the early years, now remember, unlike a traditional investment, there is additional value here. That value is, it is within a permanent life insurance policy. So if something were to happen to you, that death benefit will be paid out and is available for your family. But in this case, what we look at is really the plans each and every year, because of dividend growths, are going to get more efficient. By year 5, the policy is growing by more than what you're putting in. So if you're putting in $500 a month, that's $6,000 a year. Between year 4 and 5, it grows a little over that $6,000. And between year 8 and 9 is when the plan breaks even. And what I mean by that is the cash value exceeds what you put in. Now, where this really gets exciting is, let's go out to age 65. So Kevin, if you can, yep, keep going. Let's see what we got here. Yep, one more page. Okay, go up. So at age 65 there, let's look here. Yep, go all the way over. Okay, good, right there. You have $321,000 in cash value. Death benefit has grown from $244 to $700. So both the cash value and death benefit have grown. Now this is when he's retiring. So he says, all right, I want to start taking supplemental income. This plan will allow him to take $17,000 a year from age 66 through about age 92, tax-free supplemental income. Look what happens to the cash value. It goes from $321 to $316,600. You took out $17,000 and it went down how much? $4,500. Go to the next year, $316,600 to $311,903. Goes down about $4,700. What's happening there, the continued compounding and dividend growth is offsetting what you're taking out, which makes the cash value decline by significantly less. So go ahead and change, next slide. All right, so this is, when I say focus on the outcome, we're all concerned about the outcome of every action we take. What is it going to do for us and where is it going to take us? So in this case, from age 35 to 65, he contributed $179,022. He was able to take out $17,000 a year from age 66 through 91. He achieved a tax-free lifetime income of $442,000, which is almost 2.5 times what he put in, all without the risk and uncertainty of investing in the stock market. So, and on top of that, did not have that exposure, was able to utilize this throughout his lifetime, and then as a tax, once again, this is tax-free income. So it's truly spendable income when he's taking that out. And then, depending upon, this is bar none the most efficient legacy planning strategy available. And when you look at life insurance, so you're able to utilize it during your lifetime, and then when you're no longer here, the remaining benefit gets passed tax-free to your family or whoever the beneficiary that you elected. So go ahead, what are the benefits of what I'm talking, this high cash value life insurance strategy? Contributions are made with after-tax dollars, so it's kind of like a Roth where you're paying taxes now to avoid taxes in the future. Do you guys think taxes are going up or down in the future? Most financial experts believe where our current economy is, the federal deficit, taxes are more likely to go up. So it's the old adage, which I'm sure you've heard before. Would you rather pay on the seed or the harvest? Well, you'd rather pay on the seed, right? Because the seed hopefully is much smaller. As I said, savings tax-free, completely liquid and accessible. You can either access it via a loan in which you're complete control over. Remember, you're both the bank and the borrower on that. You determine the repayment. Contractually, you never have to repay the loan. What happens if you don't repay the loan? When you pass, whatever the outstanding loan is deducted from the death benefit, from the legacy value. As I said, no income limits as far as making contributions, and no complete flexibility in terms of when you use it and how you use it. There's no age restrictions, there's no required minimum distributions, because once again, it's all it's tax-free. Literally one of the last kind of bastions of tax-free growth. And this is just something, as I kind of finish up here, these questions are 4 questions that we ask every single individual that we meet with. And at the end of the day, these are the questions that, if you're not being asked, that you need to consider. 1, what rate of return do you need to earn on your savings and investment dollars in order to be able to retire at your current standard of living and have the money last the rest of your life? One of the biggest concerns that people have is longevity risk. Longevity risk is the risk of outliving your assets. You don't want to be, poor and, depleted and not have the ability just to pay your bills later in life. So that's very important. Number 2, how much money do you need to save annually to retire at your current standard of living? And once again, have the money last through your lifetime. Now's the time to know that, right? You don't want to know that when you're a year before retirement and then find out you weren't saving enough or you're not able to retire because you cannot create a large enough income to pay your bills. So what do? You just keep working. Or you downsize your standard of living. Who wants to downsize their standard of living? Who wants to live much less than what they're living now? Not too many people that I meet with. Number 3, if you keep doing what you're currently doing in terms of your earnings, savings, and investing, how long will you need to work before you can retire? That's what I was talking about, where people used to retire early 60s, mid 60s. Well, now we're seeing late 60s, 70s. You see a lot of people still working into their 70s. And the reason being is because they don't have sufficient income to pay their bills. And then last, if you keep doing what you're currently doing, how much will you have to reduce your standard of living, which is what I just talked about. No one wants to do that. So it's important that you probably don't have the answers to this, but working with someone and going through those is an important part of the process to understand, what you're doing. You can only do what you can do. And what I mean by that is, the answer may be, well, you need to save $2,000 a month or something like that. And you say, well, I don't have $2,000. Well, then we look at the plan of what you can do. Because there's no point of making a plan that's not viable to you. The plan needs to work within your current financial situation. But once again, you need to understand where the outcome, where's that going to bring you? Go ahead and change. So once again, as part of that planning model, when would I like to retire? When I ask that question, most people say tomorrow or yesterday. But then we have to have the serious conversation to say, all right, now let's be realistic. Let's shoot for a goal, but then let's have a plan. Let's have a roadmap. And that's a lot of what we do, is building that roadmap. So many people I meet just say, well, I'm doing this and this, but I have no idea, when I can retire or what's going to happen. It's nice to know and have that roadmap established, at least where you have that direction going forward. What income do I need to maintain my lifestyle in retirement? That's something else that we work with our clients quite a bit on, is let's look at your current lifestyle. Now let's determine what is your income goal or objective for retirement. Do you want it to be, a typical number is 80% of your current lifestyle need. But once again, it's just going to depend upon your specific individual financial circumstances. The last one, what am I doing, i.e. planning, to meet this objective? Most people I meet with don't have a plan. That's okay. When's the best time to start a plan? Today, now, tomorrow. You can keep pushing it on in the future, but what you're just doing is, you're just pushing a problem out. And so it's important that you talk to someone. Doesn't matter who it is, but have these type of conversations. Okay. what you should all have in the folders that were passed out, there's some information. I know it's in there. Information on our company, a little bio on myself. As I said, we're right off of Taylor Road in Gahanna. I would be very happy to have individualized meetings with any of you that are interested. I am not a high pressure type person. A lot of what we do is just information sharing and education and looking after your best interests. So I'm not going to try to sell you anything. The first thing is I need to understand is, what are you doing now? Where are you? What are your concerns? What objectives are you guys looking to accomplish? And this specific strategy we talked about today is one of them that we utilize, and I feel foundational wealth is lacking within most of the clients that I meet with. So is this something we'll talk about? Yes. And this is, I feel, I have 3 policies myself. My partners have 3 to 4 policies themselves. So not only do we talk about it, we actually utilize what I'm talking to you about today, as a foundational strategy within our own planning for our own families. So if you can, there is an evaluation form within the packet. I would appreciate it just to get feedback. We do these types of presentations out in the public at libraries and different things like that. So, once again, I guess what I'll do here, I really appreciate your time today. I know it's a busy day, Holy Weekend, and you guys got a lot going on. So I appreciate you taking the time and allowing me to come in. I'm going to open it up for any questions. And I'll also be around afterwards for a little bit if you don't want to ask a question in front of everyone and just want to come and ask. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My first question was the example you used. Right? The guy is 35, he's paying $500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just speaking for a lot of people here who might not be able to afford that. So do you have a minimum requirement to start, and can you ramp up over the period? So like somebody who's in college can only afford $20 a month. Can he do that, and can he ramp up over
Yes.
the period?
Yeah. So my son is 25. He graduated from Ohio University. Got his first job, and said, okay, Dad, what am I supposed to do? They sent him a benefits package. It was with a big company. They had a 401k. They matched, I think, at like 5%, which is a pretty good match. I said, well, you're going to do that. I said, but you need to save other money outside of that. So we started a Bank on Yourself plan for him at that age, 24, $150 a month. So the dollar amount doesn't matter. Now, if you say, is there a minimum? That minimum is probably going to be about $150 to $200 for it to make sense. I don't want you doing something that doesn't make sense for you. So that $150 to $200. Now, but if you have children, young ones, I do policies all the time for $50, $75 a month on children. But yeah, it truly is customized. So don't think, I just gave an example of that 500. I have clients, and this is kind of astounding, that, maybe, $100, $150 a month. My largest policy is $500,000 a year, $500,000 a year. Someone, and this is a surgeon, an orthopedic surgeon is putting in $500,000 a year into one of these plans. That's not the norm, believe me. I'm blessed if I get one of those a year. That's a nice plan from that standpoint. But this is truly customized, and that's when we go through and sit down with each family, couple, individual. We're going to go through financial questionnaires. We're going to understand what your current finances are, and see what is potentially available. So I don't just pick these numbers out of the sky. It's looking at your specific situation to determine what is a viable plan for you. So whatever that is what it is. I'm not going to try to upsell you a larger amount, because at the end of the day, you only have what you have, and I don't want to put you in that position. Anything else? Yeah.
Is Keystone Financial Group a mutual fund company? Is Keystone a mutual fund company?
No, Keystone, we are a corporation, so we are a financial planning wealth management firm. The mutual companies are these life insurance companies that we use for this specific strategy. So if you were to do a bank on yourself policy, you never write a check to Ed B. Miller or Keystone Financial. You write the checks directly to, Massachusetts Mutual, Lafayette Life out of Cincinnati, Ohio, these large mutual companies. So once again, that's kind of a system of checks and balances where, we're not taking your money and then doing something with it. It's going directly to the end companies that we design these plans through.
Yes, sir. So my question is, suppose I enroll in any amount, whatever it is, and the next 20 years, I know for sure that I'm not going to be in this country. How possible is it going to be? If I'm living outside the country?
Yeah, so I have, as long as you do it, meaning that we open the account while you're here, it goes with you. So I have clients, I have two that I just did that are both Indian doctors, and they're thinking they're several years away from retirement. And they're going to spend probably half their time in India. And so they're funding a policy for the next 4 to 5 years, but that policy allows, can be carried. The only issue that we would have is if you were living abroad and tried to initiate a plan. But if you initiate it here and you fund it with US dollars even going forward, there's no issue, of where you're domiciled or where you live.
My question is, if you start this plan, maybe in 10 years or 15 years, and then you're unable to work again, what next?
Yeah, that's the good thing is we have flexibility. So even in the plan I showed you tend to build wealth throughout your working lifetime, okay? So if your working lifetime is stopped, then we stop the plan. We do what's called, I'm getting into it's called a reduced paid up. What we're trying to do is protect the cash value. So effectively what ends up happening, we reduce the death benefit a little bit to fully pay the plan up, so you never have to make another contribution, but your cash value remains intact, and then each year thereafter, it will continue to grow because of the dividends. So I show this example just because traditionally we save throughout our working years. But if something happens, you become disabled or something else like this, we can stop those contributions at any time. There is no contractual obligation that says you have to make contributions into this plan for 20, 30, 40 years. That's where working with us, and working with me, we go through, we have regular 6-month annual reviews to determine, okay, where are you? Have there been any changes? What's going on? Do we need to make any changes? And we even have the ability, let's say in this example, he was doing $500 a month in the example I showed you. He would have had the ability, as anyone else would, let's say life happened and 500 cash flow was tight for a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year. Let's say you lost a job or something. We could reduce that monthly contribution down to what's called the base amount of that plan. So in this case, let's say it's around $200. So he can go from 500 down to 200 for a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, or whatever he needed. So we have a lot of flexibility once the plan is opened in changing payments or contributions.
A follow-up question on that one. If you reduce it, say from the 500 to 200, like you just said, does it change the face amount?
Doesn't change the face amount of the death benefit, but what it does change is how quickly the cash value grows. Because if you're not, just think about it, like a savings account. If you put $500 a month in and then you reduce it to $200, you're going to have less money in the $200. What's unique about this, let's say you went down to that $200. Once again, this just shows flexibility. And let's say you had to do that for 3 months or 4 months. You got your new job, you're back on your feet. These plans have what I like to call catch-up provisions. What that means is it allows you for those months that you underfunded, you can go back in a future time period, the next year, 2, 3, 4 years out, and contribute more to catch up from what you didn't contribute in previous years. So once again, there's a lot of flexibility with that.
All right. So someone asked a question. He said they send out the checks to Mass Mutual, AIG, whoever. So my question is, how is Ed getting paid, and how is he looking out for my interest?
Yeah. So when you say you send the checks to Mass Mutual, you send the checks to us, to our company, because we want to make sure everything's processed correctly. You just don't make them out to us. So how we are compensated, how anyone is compensated, anyone that deals in this area is compensated directly from the life insurance companies. So in the model that I showed you, once again, I just want to be completely transparent. That $500 a month policy, if I said the base amount, the lowest you can put in was $200, that's kind of initially, that would be what we would call kind of the cost or base premium of the plan. So how we are compensated, or any other advisor or agent is compensated, is off the base premium. So we get a percentage of that base premium for 1 year. Okay, that's how insurance is compensated. Once again, just this specific strategy. If you were to do this in just a traditional whole life insurance policy, and you put $500 a month in, end of year 1, your cash value would be 0. So that means that person that sold you that policy would be getting paid a commission on the entire $500 a month. So that's the big difference with this. We're using this as a long-term financial planning wealth accumulation tool. We're trying to minimize your death benefit, i.e. the cost, and we're trying to maximize that cash value. But yeah, that's true compensation. And whenever we would do your plan, I would tell you specifically how I'm being compensated and what I'm being compensated. Because at the end of the day, I don't think anyone has a problem with being compensated for work, right? It's why we all go to work. We may love our job, but we like to get a paycheck because we got bills and things like that.
Question I had was, so in that conversation, I want to know if you are channeling my funds towards the mutual fund company that's going to give me the best option, or you are channeling it to the one that is going to pay you the most?
Yeah, the companies, we're not what's called captive, which means a captive individual can only deal with one company. So it doesn't matter what else is out there, I have to write with that company. I have to do all my business with that company. And once again, this is just one strategy that we use. We have multiple companies that we can use. So my goal, we get compensated the same through every company. It's the insurance industry. So my goal is, I run multiple illustrations because it could be a little bit different depending on your age, race, how much you're putting in, where one company may be a little better than the other. I get paid the same. So that's where, remember at the beginning of the conversation, we saw that CFF, Certified Financial Fiduciary Designation. It's a little bit of faith, but there's a reason why I got that designation, because I have a legal liability to represent what's in your best interest. And so that's why we have that. Dealing with a fiduciary, we feel, is very important. So.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So like the 401k and the Social Security, which is, backed by like a law act of Congress, and then you said this is tax-free.
Yes.
And I know IRS would like to get their hands on anybody's extra income that they make. So the protection for it being tax-free, is it coming from an act of Congress or a law, or it's just?
Yeah, it is. It is actually Rule 7702, which has been in place for decades, which speaks to the tax-free growth. And then people say, well, the government can just change that. They do this all the time. Well, the largest owner of this type of strategy in the world, guess who it is? What industry owns the most of this type of investment strategy? Every one of you deals with this industry too.
The banking industry?
Yep. The banking industry has billions of dollars invested in, it's called BOLI, B-O-L-I, bank-owned life insurance. And that's where they keep the reserves that are required by law for them to have on deposit to protect against loan losses. So think about it. One of the most powerful, the banking industry is one of the most powerful financial industries in the world. And they're keeping their reserves that they need to keep as safe as possible because they have to have those on their balance sheet within their company on deposit in case loans go bad. So the federal government requires them to have a certain amount in reserves to protect against their loan losses. This is where they're keeping most of it. So when you think about it, who's going to petition the government to change the favorable tax advantage when it benefits one of the most powerful financial institutions in the world? You know, so you hear a lot of talk about changing rules and regulations. This is one that we rarely hear anything about, and I believe there's an underlying reason for it, which is what I just kind of explained.
Okay.
I know you guys have a full day of activities here, so. If nothing else, then again, I'd greatly appreciate your time. Oh, you got up?
Yeah,
Okay.
So remember you said, for instance, somebody has $10,000 and then they can take $8,000.
Yeah.
And then the money will still grow as though it is $10,000.
Yes.
So how long can you keep that $8,000 until you pay back? That they will say, okay, we need it back, so we can.
As long as you want. There is no contractual statement from the life insurance company. You are not contractually obligated to ever repay the loan. Now, we preach and we teach, treat yourself like your own bank, right? It's if you own a grocery store. Pay for your groceries, right? If you go in and you own that grocery store, pay for them. Don't treat yourself like you would a customer. So what we encourage is for you to repay that, but on your own terms. Because at the end of the day, to maximize the efficiencies of these plans, later in life, you would like to have that full cash value and don't want it encumbered by a lot of loans. Yeah.
So, unlike the 401k.
Yeah.
So if I elect a plan saying my retirement is going to be at the age of 65, so I've been contributing towards that.
Yeah.
And along the line, I have an emergency. I have to stop work. And I decide not to contribute to the fund again, but I withdraw my money. Am I going to pay a penalty like the 401k?
From this?
Yes.
No penalty.
Okay.
That's the difference here, is whether you do a loan or a withdrawal. And you have the ability to do either. You don't have to do a loan. If you just wanted to take a straight withdrawal, you can, but here's the difference. When you do a withdrawal, you're going to lower your cash value and your death benefit immediately. And you can't make it up. Meaning you can never recontribute that money because you took it out. Whereas if you do a loan, you have the flexibility to refund that account. But once again, that's where we talk. If you have something come up, hey, Ed, I need money. What do we need it for? And do you have the ability over the next 3-5 years to pay it back? No, I don't think so. Okay, then let's take a distribution, because I don't want to put you in a position where you take a loan that you never have an intention to ever repay. So once again, it's customized to your individual situation, but you have complete autonomy and accessibility to the cash value within the plan.
So unlike a 401k, so if I elect to contribute $500 every month, is it being matched or no?
No, there's no, this is just like any other investment. Now, you don't work for me. Maybe we are looking to hire, so if you're looking for a job, yeah. So we do these plans for our employees. One thing we did 2 years ago, we implemented, in lieu of a 401k, we did bank on yourself plans for all our employees. And we do contribute for our employees. But this would just be like if you opened up an IRA or a brokerage account outside of the only way you're going to get a match is if, really, it's for the company you work for. They'll, as part of their employee benefits, where matches are. Yeah, there's no match. Think of this just like a savings or any other type of outside investment account that you would do. It's all your money.
The reason I asked that is I had a side investment, like a college fund, but it was being matched. That is the reason why I was asking.
Well, who was matching it?
The company.
Oh, your company that you work for?
No, I don't work for that company.
Yeah, 529 plans, which is what typically people utilize for that. There's no, you get tax credits, but there's no one's putting money in there for you unless you have a grandfather or a family member or that type of thing. But as far as, I'd be interested to, somehow if someone's putting money in there.
Because they say they use your money to work, so they match it up.
Yeah, I'd have to look at that because within everyone, if, believe me, college, we have a college division within our practice. One of my partners specializes in that. The cost of college is just going up astronomical. If someone was going to contribute money above your own resources, everyone would do it. So I'd be interested in learning more. I'm not familiar specifically with. I'd have to look at what you're speaking to. I think we're good. Do you want to say anything, or we're good? All right. Well, hey, enjoy the rest of your day, and once again, I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Ed, for coming. Yeah, I would like to say two things, and I would like to change the language a little if it doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay. The NA can say, a life insurance policy. You obey to be a tobina. Now, sa policy we need a wojia a wow bank, a wow banker. Na sikabia would be to mubiano, a wow dear. Na a life insurance policy in Intino, uwa a beko o family home. Na ansan a beko family home, one kasa way, as so with me enjoy be now bit me I enjoy so. I say, me fancy what I family example. Me will be. Me contribute to $500 a month. Na me do. Na sa 500 no. Tem bia me pay loan bia no. Eno ane se ma come accounts ma click ma gi loan. Up till now, ma gi loan 12,000 wom. Obia me sa me interest was so. Me permitria, me permitria. Se when tria the ebene say, uwa sika dodo na anke de mema wo busuafo no. No mati afiri so. Enti se opese wo kwati sika ni bia eno an se eye umfre obia misa ohwe no akwadwu sika ni bi obedi nyina akura wi ansa no wawua na wobusuafo no wadi na wo yenso a ebia opese wo de ma ebia ochechemu a se bia mpese bi come yere ho bi come ma ho eno so mbemo aye ebi nso ana wo insurance bi o baby life insurance bi o baby omamo atima fele form bi amwa transfer e de abestart we. In fact, say, oh, term life be baby. Ubet a transfer no. Now they are back away. Why you say no? Inti sana eti ampacho. Ubu question be as simple as that. But just of ubet be. Perfect. Me pacho. One example. Software will be ne no or the half ma sorry no winswa at half a ma na yere. Software they were just between me and you in Macau. Software ante. Nti sa ubetimi aye no watibi e de amaso. Ubetimi de amobia opebia. Exactly. Opet kra ubetimi de man. No. Say na a policy no say a good dividend. Ti afe no so na say visual ye de bima obia wa contribute to be adma and it based on how much you have in it. Na ye to dividend be amount. Say a bank on yourself interest no. As something no say a mutual fund. Mutual fund and I say cooperative. Ye nyina na ye nti e ba na ya share. So for me patch na won house.
Sometimes for one case, other companies and insurance match amount. And after that, we can say, so insurance be a bit me a fair free what they are starting with. So, unless officer say, honor, which I cry and say you can still work between both.
The same insurance, ka uku close one insurance company now be start one. Sometimes I'm charge your penalty. But we say any once a sign, close who ye free baby, ne dia call another committee, and the bet my or charge you. Say one company, free business company from ako another company. Ubetimia in sa. Your form BMC friend N35 refiniding and be maybe sanana watch them form needing. So from Bacho also so with Macasa.
Are you going to pay interest on it?
What your interest now? A wow on interest in the samba. Obey your interest, but interest no a beba one casao.
Okay, so in comparison with other companies, how is the interest?
Interest no highest than me, maybe the highest between 5%. 5% na or much charge me. No interest in your budget because say we see can you invest near yes cabro into why we invest wo wow it's interest in ba e beba wow say interest no na normal o mkeka bomu a na aye dividend bu ana o ma chama obia no yeah pacho obo question bi nyesa dia na pacho the way we the baby anim the wutwi the wo contribute and o sika no drum no ena na o mo hwe so e mfa credit score bi am. 1 year pay. After 1 year, no one kasa all log into the policy now. How much I'll be to me a borrow. System na betcha was in a busy borrow. How much I'll be to me a borrow. But if you're okay,
can you borrow more than what you have?
Can you
go in for a loan more than what you have?
No, the loan depends on your contribution. Yes. No, like with the loan, after you've taken the loan. Yes, you decide how much you want to start with. So 200, 300, it depends on it. They may have a minimum. That one I have to find out. They have a minimum that you have to start with. Yes. Ed, is there any minimum? Say like if I want to start a fresh policy, is there the minimum that I have to start with?
The only minimum is really for it to make financial sense. Because
Okay.
because it is within a life insurance policy, there is cost to the death benefit.
Okay.
I don't want all the contribution to go towards costs because then it's just a life insurance policy. Doesn't make any sense as a wealth accumulation vehicle. So that's where I had set up there. $150, $200 normally would be about the minimum. Anything, less than that, everything's going to really be going towards the cost of the policy. Then I've just sold you just a traditional life insurance plan, which isn't what we're trying to do. But as far as, I wasn't sure on the one question that was asked. You don't have to wait any period of time to access your money because I have clients that have, let's say they set up a plan for $200 a month, but they have 3,000 or 4,000 sitting in a savings, and your savings rates right now are 1/8 to 1/4 of 1%. So what they want to do is drop in that money into their bank on your self plan. We can get that in to cash value 100%, and then you have a policy earning a dividend between 5 to 6% tax-free. And so literally, if you transferred that money into the policy, as soon as it cleared, you would have the ability to borrow. You don't have to wait a month, 6 months, a year before you can access that money. That money is available immediately in that case. So once again, the design of the plans is really customized to what you have and what you're looking to accomplish. And the other thing I did want to say, this was a very brief, relatively presentation. We do have, books and materials that I'd be happy to send to you at our cost if you're interested in reading up more, because a lot of this is just education and information sharing. So, that's the one thing we can send you out a book or that kind of stuff just so that you can get more up to speed with it. And that's really what Frederick did is he did a lot of his own due diligence and read these books and articles, and I would encourage you guys, if you're going to look into it, to do the same.
Thank you. Yeah, they are in the different states, but they have to recommend you. Yeah. Yeah, in Michigan, yes. Do they have brokers or like agents around the states? Because we have people from Virginia, we have people from Michigan, Cincinnati, and other places.
Like we're licensed, I'm licensed probably right now in about 20 different states. So if you have someone that's in another state, we can get licensed very easily. It's just, yeah, it's just us basically applying online paperwork to get licensed in different states. It's a very easy process to do. So yeah, I have clients in Florida, in Maine, in South Carolina, North Carolina, Michigan, yeah. So that's not an issue. In today's, with Zoom and the virtual meeting process, they don't physically have to be here for us to accomplish these things.
I think maybe I'll ask one question. Life insurance, let me put it this way. We know life insurance depends on two things, age and health. Does this applicable in this situation?
Yeah, the underlying chassis still is permanent insurance, so there is underwriting and a med exam that goes along with it. Now, what's unique about it, often I'll have a couple where maybe one spouse has some type of health condition. We can always do the plan on the other spouse, or we can do it on children. We can do it on a sibling or a parent. We have a lot of flexibility because, once again, most people are looking at this as a wealth accumulation vehicle. Now, the insurance is the other side of it, but we can normally work around if one individual has some health conditions that would limit them.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
So is your interest rate based on your election?
Your interest rate. Interest rate on what? Which one?
Let's say if I contribute $500 every month, or if somebody contributes, let's say $200 every month, does the $500 and the $200 have a limit of interest rate?
No, the dividend scales for these companies are the same for everyone, whether you put $100 in or $500,000. And that's the dividend rate published by these companies, which is, once again, it's public knowledge. It is something that's available. So I'd be able to tell you, hey, here's the dividend scale for this mutual life company for the last 20 years. And we'd be able to show you that. It doesn't matter how much you put in. Everyone gets the same. Yeah, same percentage dividend.
Thank you very much, Ed. I think we will bring the meeting to a close. Thank you all for coming and relax and come in the evening. Thank you.
And the last thing I'll say, if you can please just drop off the evaluation forms for me, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Suspended. Then what do you have against? I'm out.